Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Stucky's Travels.
So we decided to talk about Belize because it's right next to Guatemala. Episode 7 was Guatemala. And depending on the length of your trip, you might be able to do Belize and Guatemala on the same trip. So grab your passport, make sure you have your hepatitis A, B, and typhoid shots, and away we go.
All right, so here's Belize, as you can see, right next to Guatemala, just south of Mexico, southeast. And the money was pretty easy. So $1 gave you two Belizean dollars, and they used the same thing as us dollars, so made it pretty simple. As a matter of fact, we could use US dollars most places. You just might get change in Belizean money, but it was an easy 2-to-1 ratio.
So you can see that the capital is Belmopan, Belize. And this is a unique thing because it's a very small capital city. In fact, it's the smallest of all of the Americas, North America, Central America, or South America. It's the smallest. Less than 20,000 people live in Belmopan. The original capital city was Belize City, but in 1961, Hurricane Hattie completely destroyed. 75% of the homes were completely destroyed. So the government recommended switching capital cities, and in 1970, Belmopan became the new capital city. It's the third largest city in the country, so Belize City is still the largest. San Ignacio is second, and then Belmopan, the capital, is third.
Yep, and here you can see our route that we kind of took through Belize, coming in from Guatemala, and their motto, "You better Belize it."
So, like Miles said, we came from Guatemala, so we chose to do Guatemala, Belize, and then part of the Yucatan Peninsula, all as part of the same 2 week trip. Again, it depends on the length of your trip. Some people just choose to go to Belize for a week long family vacation. English is widely spoken in Belize, so it really is, with the money being as easy as it is, and the language, it's a good Central American country to visit in that regard. So this was our hotel in San Ignacio. San Ignacio is the second uh, largest city, but it's still walkable. We were able to walk to the laundry place, anywhere we wanted to eat, the casino, the Green Iguana Conservatory, the one of the sets of ruins. This is a really nice resort. It's around $50 per night. There are much cheaper places, but this was sort of a nice place to relax and enjoy the swimming pool with the hot weather.
And it was a little outside of town, so it wasn't real noisy from traffic or anything else. Um, but definitely walkable. Less than 20,000 people also in San Ignacio.
So one of the sets of ruins that we went to was Cajal Pec, as you can see on the sign. As early as 1000 BC to 650 AD is when this was going, and it wasn't discovered until 1950. So discovered a lot later than Tikal in Guatemala was, but the jungle just really overtakes these Mayan ruins quickly after there's no longer people there. We did walk there. It was about a mile and a half from the Midas Resort.
Yep. But if you wanted to, you could rent bikes in town for 250 an hour, $2.50 US. So fairly cheap.
So that blue tarp you saw in the previous picture was because one cool thing about this location is they were still doing excavations. So off on the sides there were like sifters where workers were like sifting through to try to find artifacts. They had some like tent like things set up so that they could work underneath, not having the sun blasting on them all day. We didn't see any workers because we were there after hours, but it was neat to see some place that was still having active excavations going on.
Yeah, and if you look close on this picture, you can see kind of an outline in yellow of where they're currently working. So not a lot of safety precautions.
So this was actually considered a ball field. I really, I always find it amazing that they have a pretty good idea of what certain spaces were used for at these various ruins. But this set of ruins had what they called a ball field area. It also had an area that would have been for like performances, and I think there's a picture of it later. So you can just see well, okay, you can see Miles eating. uh, it's nice from time to time to get a meal that feels kind of American after you've been eating traditional local food for 4, 5, 6 days. So Miles is pigging out on a burger and some onion rings.
Yeah, and the burger, obviously you can tell, was huge. So not very wide, but or not a big diameter, but very tall burger. I'd eat that in pieces for sure.
So this was really exciting for us because, as you'll see in the next picture, it was literally right there in our window.
Yep, and the collared acari, or aracari, excuse me, was is a type of toucan, and it's very well known in that part of Belize.
So several types of toucans. If you'll remember from the Guatemala video, we talked about the keel build, which is the one you think of when you think of a toucan, the black one with the big yellow bill, but also toucanettes, which are smaller. So just really interesting to see so many different types of toucans. So another set of ruins that we were going to travel to was the Tunich ruins. And in order to get there, we had a few different options. We could take a bus, which would stop here at the ferry. We would have to take the ferry across and then walk the remaining mile. Or we could get a taxi and take the taxi on the ferry across the river, and then the taxi would take us the rest of the way. We'd met up with two other people from our group, and we were able to get a taxi all the way so within a half a mile of the Guatemala border where Tunich is for 10 US dollars, so only $2.50 per person to get a ride there.
So as it says, the ruins of Zunantunich really mean Stone Lady, but Stone Lady doesn't come from anything at the ruins themselves. As a matter of fact, they know very little of the culture there. What Stone Lady comes from is a ghost or spirit that's been seen there many times, all clad in white, even the face is white. And as she walks up the temple, she disappears into the temple ruins. And apparently her eyes glow red.
We did not see her.
We did not. We were there too late.
So you can see that some of these ruins still have grass on the side of them. They chose not to excavate fully. Really large ruins, and you'll see some pictures that we were able to climb to the top of. They think that the position of these ruins was so that they could send smoke signals to other groups. It wasn't that far from Tikal, it wasn't that far from Cajalpec, so the Mayans would have been able to communicate with each other through that were at different sites. You can see just a size perspective. There's people in these pictures, so you get an idea of how large these ruins are.
And how old they are. So this structure is the second highest structure in Belize. As you can tell, this is just a relief, not real. Most of it's been gone for so long, since almost about 800, 900 AD, since anyone's lived here. And so everything's pretty much crumbled, but they give us an idea of what it used to look like.
Yeah, so they've made a replication of what they think. Again, I don't know how they exactly know, but they used different clues that they have on what different areas might have looked like at the time. There's the view from the top. You can see how many miles off in the distance you can really see, and how this would be a strategic position not only for defense but also for communication. So the river, there were actually two rivers that come together in San Ignacio, and if you chose to, you could do a kayaking trip.
And this was a bridge. We had to wait for this guy on his motorcycle to cross before we could. There were no signs, no rules. We probably could have gotten on the bridge with him, but it didn't really feel that safe. So we waited.
Let's just say if this bridge would have been in the United States, there's no way they would have let motorcycles go across the bridge. It didn't even feel that safe when we were walking across it. Like, think about the Turkey Run suspension bridge times 1,000 more wobbliness, and that was this suspension bridge.
It was fun.
So this is at the we walked again. So From Midas Resort, another mile and a half just northwest was the confluence of where the Mopon and the McCall rivers came together.
So again, a large variety of wildlife and birds, very colorful birds that stick out, like the great Kiskadee, which is a flycatcher.
So we left San Ignacio and drove overland, stopping in Belmopon just to switch buses. And then in Belize City, we got on a ferry. The ferry is currently 18 US dollars per person to go to the islands. So we were going to take the ferry boat to Key Cocker, Caye. So if you remember from our Florida Keys video, Cayo means small island from Spanish. And so Caye is pronounced Key. So Key Cocker is where we were going to spend the next several days. Really, really colorful. The buildings have, in a lot of parts of the island portions of Belize, have very, very bright colors. Um, Even the houses are painted with fluorescent colors, not just the rental places.
So as we went towards one end of the island, there's kind of a break between this island and the next island, which is really a part of it. But the water actually flows through this very quickly. And it's just because it's an entry point that the water can get from one part of the ocean to the other with a break in the island. So if you actually jump in and get far enough out, the current pulls you pretty fast away from where this dock is.
This island is also very, very narrow. So if you were on certain parts of the island, you could look to your left and your right, and it was only about 5 blocks wide, and you could see the ocean on both sides. So one of the really great things about the time of year that we were there is it was lobster season. So you could get rice with garlic bread, vegetables, fruit, full lobster for 10 US dollars. So obviously we partook in that on more than one occasion. Just a picture showing a little crab on the beach, always running into fun little creatures along the way.
And while Michelle ate unhealthy ice cream, I had some very healthy fresh fruit juice.
It was homemade ice cream made with real fruit. But the fruit juices I had as well, and they were delicious. They were all freshly made that day. They were really popular amongst the tourists.
Yep. Very cheap, $3 US, I think.
I think
Five,
even less than that.
something like that. So it was a very large juice, larger than it looks like in my hand, but it was very large.
So on our one of our bike rides, we saw this iguana, and we watched this battle, a survival of the fittest. This young one was getting eaten, and the next series of pictures will show the progress.
And as you can tell from the look on the little one's face, not too pleased about this.
I asked Miles if we should save him, and he said it's nature. So we rode along and let nature take its course.
Nature.
We always tried each night to see the beautiful sunset. Oftentimes it was too cloudy, but you could still see how it looked really pretty over the ocean. So sunrise on one side of the island, sunset 5 blocks over on the other side of the island.
And more lobster. Very tasty. And that's Belize.
So even though we only really spent time in 2 different places, there are several other good spots to visit in Belize. We chose Key Cocker because it's a small island. We went scuba diving. We got to feed stingrays out of our hands. We could snorkel. It was just a relaxed atmosphere, but there are several other things to do, including the Blue Hole. Miles can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so the Great Blue Hole is about a 3 hour boat ride off the coast. And so that's one of the reasons we didn't go. It's a little expensive. You can scuba dive. It's hundreds of feet deep, and it's just everything shallow except for this hole, which all of a sudden it goes from 20 feet deep all around it to a couple of 100 feet deep. And some sharks swim in it and live in there off the fish. You definitely have to have a flashlight with you if you go, though. So running out of time. So until next time.
Check out Belize.